History is written by the powerful. It is a narrative shaped by victors, by empires, and by the political agendas of the day. For generations, the story of ancient India has been told with a single, dominant voice, a story that begins in the north, along the banks of the sacred Ganges. The accepted narrative, taught in schools and promoted by the state for decades, was that civilization flowed from this northern heartland to the rest of the subcontinent. The South, in this version of history, was often portrayed as a passive recipient of culture, language, and urbanization. But this is an incomplete narrative. It is a distortion born from a desire to create a homogeneous, singular identity for a nation of immense diversity. The truth is, India does not have one origin story. It has many. And in 2014, under a quiet coconut grove in Tamil Nadu, archaeologists began to unearth the undeniable scientific proof. This is the story of Keeladi, a story of a lost civilization, a political firestorm, and a people's fight to reclaim their past. To understand the explosive significance of Keeladi, we must first understand the world it came from. For millennia, the Tamil people have spoken of their history through the lens of the Sangam literature. This vast body of ancient poetry and grammar described a sophisticated, rational, and thriving civilization. The oldest of these works, the Tholkappiyam, is a breathtakingly complex work on Tamil grammar and poetry, written nearly 2,500 years ago. It's not a religious text. It's a scientific analysis of a language that was already ancient in its own time, proving a highly structured literary culture existed when many other world civilizations were just beginning. Alongside it are the great anthologies of poetry, the Etuthkai and Pathupatu, which paint a vivid picture of a world of bustling port cities trading with Romans, powerful kings, and the everyday lives of ordinary people. And at its heart is the Thirukkural, a masterpiece of secular ethics written over 2 millennia ago. In 1,330 short couplets, it speaks of justice, compassion, and reason, without mentioning any specific god, religion, or caste. It was a humanist guide for a worldly society. But for centuries, with the legendary first cities of the Sangam supposedly lost to a sunken continent called Kumari Kandam, mainstream historians often dismissed these accounts as poetic exaggeration, beautiful myths, but not history. The argument was simple and devastating. Where is your proof? For decades, dedicated researchers like the late Orissa Balu argued passionately that there was geological and oceanic evidence to support this story. He and others pointed to the findings of the National Institute of Oceanography at Pumpuhar, which found man-made structures submerged deep underwater. Balu argued that a full-scale underwater exploration could prove the existence of these lost cities. Yet, there have been consistent allegations that the central government has shown little to no interest, refusing to sanction or fund the large-scale deep-sea exploration required. This official reluctance gave critics the perfect weapon to dismiss the legends. In 2014, the central government's Archaeological Survey of India (ASI) began an excavation at the village of Keeladi, on the banks of the Vaigai River near the ancient city of Madurai. Many believe the initial goal was to find a minor settlement from a later period, one that would fit neatly into the established north-to-south timeline. They were digging for a history that would confirm their own. But history had other plans. Led by superintending archaeologist Amarnath Ramakrishna, the team didn't find a minor outpost. They found a civilization. As they dug deeper, they unearthed the foundations of a massive, brilliantly planned urban center covering over 100 acres. They found organized clusters of brick buildings, sophisticated terracotta pipes forming a complex drainage system, and clear evidence of thriving industries. This was the city from the Sangam poems, brought to life. The discovery of over 18,000 artifacts proved this was not a village, but a bustling metropolis. The literary fantasy was suddenly archaeological fact. But the next discovery would be even more explosive: the city's true age. To ensure absolute scientific impartiality, artifacts were sent to one of the world's leading radiocarbon dating labs in Miami, Florida. When the results came back, they were a political and historical bombshell. The Keeladi urban settlement dated back to at least 600 BCE, over 2,600 years ago. This single fact shattered the established timeline. It was undeniable scientific proof that a sophisticated planned city was thriving in the Tamil South at the exact same time as the famous cities of the northern Gangetic plains. This was not an offshoot. This was a separate, independent cradle of Indian civilization. The deeper they dug, the more inconvenient the truth became for the old narrative. The thousands of artifacts painted a picture of a society built on skilled craftsmanship and international trade. They found evidence of advanced weaving looms, tools for dyeing textiles in brilliant colors, and workshops for crafting intricate jewelry from gems and ivory. They found exquisite gold ornaments, revealing a society that was not just surviving, but thriving. But perhaps the most revolutionary discovery lay on the most common of objects: simple clay pots. Scratched onto hundreds of these pots were inscriptions in the Tamil Brahmi script. These were not the decrees of kings or priests. They were the names of ordinary people, Athan Kuviran, proving that literacy was widespread among commoners 2,600 years ago. This suggested a level of social advancement that was a direct threat to hierarchical historical models. The evidence was now undeniable. An ancient, literate, industrial, urban, and independent civilization had been found. And that is when the sabotage began. The discoveries at Keeladi were rewriting history, and for some in power, that history had to be stopped. After 2 groundbreaking seasons, the ASI, under the control of the central government, made its move. First, the lead archaeologist, Amarnath Ramakrishna, was abruptly transferred to a minor post in another state in what his supporters called an act of sabotage. His team was dismantled. Then, the ASI released a shockingly brief 12-page report that dismissed the revolutionary findings as not significant and tried to redate the site to a much later period, directly contradicting the American lab's scientific evidence. The message was clear. The story of Keeladi was not a story they wanted told. But it didn't end there. Even after his transfer, Ramakrishna compiled all of his team's exhaustive findings into a comprehensive 900-page report, complete with thousands of photographs and drawings, the undeniable proof. But the ASI sat on it. According to reports and court documents, they refused to publish it and pressured Ramakrishna to revise it to water down its conclusions. He refused. He would not compromise the scientific truth. Why? Why would a government agency try to bury a world-class discovery? It was a clash of 2 opposing ideas of India. On one side is the Hindutva cultural project, which promotes a vision of a homogeneous Indian past, centered on the North and the primacy of the Sanskrit language and Vedic traditions. On the other side is the Dravidian movement of South India, which asserts a proud, independent, and equally ancient identity. Keeladi was the archaeological proof that the Dravidian narrative was true. It showed an ancient, urban, secular-seeming, and non-Sanskritic society. It threatened to demolish the idea of a single cultural origin for India. This wasn't just about history, it was about modern political identity. The attempt to suppress the Keeladi findings sparked a firestorm. The people of Tamil Nadu refused to let their history be buried twice. A massive public movement erupted. The fight went to court. In a landmark decision, the Madras High Court intervened, ordering the ASI to allow the lead archaeologist to publish his 900-page report and handing over control of the excavation to the Tamil Nadu State Department of Archaeology. The state government leadership proudly declared they would fund the project themselves to prove the antiquity and glory of Tamil civilization to the world. The people had won. With the site now under state control, incredible new discoveries continue to be made. The story of Keeladi is a story of 2 great victories. First, the victory of discovery, which unearthed a history that was long dismissed as myth. And second, the victory of the people, who fought a political and legal battle to protect that discovery from being suppressed by an ideological agenda. It is a powerful reminder that history is not just something we find in the ground. It is something we must constantly fight to protect and to tell in its fullest, most honest form, because when we reclaim our past, we reclaim our future. If you believe these are the true stories of history that need to be told, subscribe to History and Beyond. Join us as we continue to fight for the truth, because our past defines our future.